and it's going, look who came out. It's Oklahoma Congressman and all-around smart guy. Joining us from Capitol Hill, Republican Representative Tom Cole. Hey, Tom, you know what you get when you put Tom Cole and Ted Cruz together.
And what do you get?
Tom Cruise. But anyway, so Tom Cole.
I hope not.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
And he hopes not.
And he hopes not, too. So, Tom, we've been through a government shutdown. That didn't really work out well. And in this case, it would work out even worse because, you know, we've got actually the president in a pretty defensive posture on Obamacare when you look at the poll numbers. And you know, what do you think about Ted Cruz running around saying if you don't believe in shutting down the government right now, you're a member of the Surrender Caucus, saying that about your...
Well, I guess I'm just in the same foxhole with Tom Coburn.
That's a good foxhole to be in.
That's a very good foxhole to be in. Look, we all want to obviously get rid of Obamacare. We've all voted against it. We've voted multiple times to repeal it and delay it. But you had it exactly right earlier, Joe, when you said this changes the subject from something where we're winning to something where we'll lose. It's just nonsensical to change the focus on Obamacare right now when the president's having to delay the mandate. You've got Howard Dean in the Wall Street Journal saying the central cost control element, the Independent Payment Advisory Board, won't work. Americans are finding their premiums are going up. You know, there's lots of things we can do. We should go after the medical device tax. It's not very popular. Democrats don't like it either. So this is much more, you know, a program that you take care of with 1,000 cuts. And by the way, winning some elections would help too. You know, if we had a President Romney and we had a majority in the Senate where they seem to be anxious to tell us how to use our majority in the House, we could maybe get something done. So I think the focus should be on winning seats. We have a good chance to do that in 2014 and continuing to fight on a day-by-day basis. But shutting down the government, putting millions of Americans out of work, inconveniencing tens of millions of more, that's just simply not a winning strategy.
This is, I've heard quite a few people say, this is the political equivalent of Pickett's charge. And as Pete Wayne,
Pickett had a better chance.
He had a better chance. He had a better chance, but he really did. But you look at some of these guys and you realize that, as Pete Wayner said yesterday in commentary, that Pickett's charge is not the reference to a Civil War battle at Gettysburg. Pickett's charge is now becoming actually a Republican governing philosophy. Right. And it is insanity, Tom, and I'm sure most smart guys and women in the House who are Republicans agree with you, right?
I think they do, and I think, you know, I look at the number of voices speaking out. When you've got people like Tom Coburn and Roy Blunt and Richard Burr, you know, coming out there forcefully, Senator Cornyn saying this really isn't a good idea, I'm really heartened by that. And again, look, I applaud the goal. It's an admirable goal. It's just not the way to get there. And I like the enthusiasm and the energy. That's all great. But this is an argument for having a little bit of experience and a little bit of caution, and frankly, putting the best interest of the American people first. If you think about this in terms of what's best for individual Americans, it's very difficult to arrive at this as the solution to that question.
Yeah. All right, while you're here, let's take a look at what else is going on. War of words between Governor Chris Christie and Senator Rand Paul, and there's no sign that either side is ready to back off. Governor Christie originally criticized Senator Paul's position on limited defense spending and NSA wiretapping, saying the senator should, quote, sit across from the widows and the orphans and have that conversation. Paul took offense, saying it was, quote, sad and cheap that he would use the cloak of 9/11 victims. Paul then took aim at politicians in New York and New Jersey over Hurricane Sandy aid, saying the gimme, gimme, gimme attitude was draining the federal government. Chris Christie and Paul continued that fight yesterday.
I find it interesting that Senator Paul is accusing us of having a gimme, gimme, gimme attitude towards federal spending. Maybe Senator Paul could, you know, deal with that when he's trying to deal with the reduction of spending on the federal side. But I doubt he would, because most Washington politicians only care about bringing home the bacon so that they can get reelected.
This is the king of bacon talking about bacon. He's making a big mistake picking a fight with other Republicans because the Republican Party is shrinking in New England and in the northeast part of our country. I'm the one trying to grow the party by talking about libertarian ideas of privacy and the internet, and attacking me isn't helping the party. He's hurting the party.
I don't really understand what Rand Paul was just saying, but you're talking about the northeast part of the country. Chris Christie is the bright shining star in the Northeast. He's got a 75% approval rating. In New Jersey, there was a part of the clip that was cut off there in the middle where Chris Christie helpfully explains. You talk about a gimme, gimme, gimme attitude. New Jersey's a donor state, 75 cents. They get back 75 cents for every dollar they put in.
So, like,
whereas Kentucky, where Rand Paul is from, is gimme, gimme, gimme. They get $1.50.
So then, what did he mean by king of bacon?
Yeah, Kentucky gets $1.51 for every dollar they put in. So what he was saying is, if Rand Paul's really concerned about gimme, gimme, gimme attitude, well, we'll take some of your money because right now we're giving more than we're getting back. Anyway, so Tom, this underlines a bigger battle, which actually started out with NSA wiretapping and just a general pathway that the Republican Party is going to go. There's going to be a real battle about where we're going to be on civil liberties, where we're going to be on foreign intervention. Rand Paul obviously has a libertarian view. Is he outside the mainstream of the Republican Party?
Honestly, I'm sorry that this got a little bit personal between the two, because frankly, this is a debate worth having. It's an important debate, and it's not particularly a partisan debate. You know, the majority of Democrats actually voted with Rand Paul on this issue and against Barack Obama and their own leadership in the House. So the majority of Republicans actually supported the president's position.
How did you vote on this one?
I voted in favor of keeping the NSA program. I think we're going to review it and change it probably, but this would have ended it. And you're talking about, you know, we've stopped over 50 attacks. Every member in both parties who served on the Intelligence Committee voted in favor of this. My friend Tom Coburn, who serves on it now, delivered a spirited defense of this program. So I'm going to go with the people that actually know the program and looked at it. But look, I actually applaud the people that brought up the other concerns, because this is a big debate. This is the classic debate in America between liberty and security. We ought to have it. We ought to constantly have it. And look, we've seen no abuses with this program. It's interesting to me that after all of Snowden's commentary, he didn't show us any abuses. Nobody's come forward. That doesn't mean none have occurred, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't have some safeguards. But shutting it off completely, I think that invites an attack, and it's not responsible.
Hey, Congressman, so final question for you. So the president's talking about a plan, a grand bargain that really moves more away from, you know, the grand bargains of the past have been about the fiscal situation, balancing the budget. This looks like it's more about growing jobs. He said, hey, Republicans, we will agree to cut corporate taxes, something important to businesses across, and maybe we can get some of that $2-3 trillion that's offshore back to the United States. And in exchange, you agree to some spending on infrastructure and other areas. Of course, the plan was immediately panned. Is there some way forward between this president and the House if the corporate tax cuts are significant enough to really help grow jobs?
I think there are. Now, again, it's hard to tell because we haven't seen any paper from the president. This is sort of unveiled in a campaign-like speech. But if it's as you described, Joe, that is, we're going to reduce rates and we're going to encourage money that's offshore to come home, that will generate extra revenue. And certainly part of that can go for a variety of things. But if it's a false tax cut, that is, it doesn't really reduce revenue, but is done in a way to increase revenue, I think that's a non-starter. I think tax reform needs to be largely revenue neutral, as it was in '86, but then contribute to a rapidly growing economy, and that always generates extra money. But at the end of the day, I think there is a way to find a bargain here. We could redistribute sequester cuts, go to the non-discretionary side of the budget. We could do some things like this, and we both agree can score well and generate extra revenue. And then as long as the deficit keeps trending down, and it's half of what it was 3 years ago, Republicans should take a lot of pride in that, then we certainly have some room for some initiatives. But again, let's keep our eye on the main thing, and that is over time bringing that deficit toward balance, something you achieved when you were in Congress.
4 years in a row, first time since the 20s, and it is good to see it's going in the right direction. Thank you so much
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here, Tom Cole, Congressman from Oklahoma, and stay in that foxhole with Tom Coburn. He looks a little freaky when he starts growing that winter beard, but that's all right. He shaves it off when it gets warm.
He's my old client. I love him.
Okay, fantastic.